Hey guys, good morning and happy whatever today is. I think it's Thursday. I think we're at Thursday already. We're at Thursday. Wow, we're at Thursday. So I'll be redesigning this whole area over the weekend. That'll be kind of fun. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to paint all of these wonderful bookshelves that we've got. We're going to bolt them to the wall back there so I can organize everything and make it all nice and organized. So that'll be fun. So other than that, got a couple of things on the plate today. We're going to work a little bit more on the fast 3D functions for the background of comics and things like that. And I'll show you a little bit of how I intend to get people here to do stuff. So we'll be doing a little bit of that. And let's see. But first, we've got to finish our Springs comic that we were doing yesterday. Right? Because we were working on Springs. So there we go. Let's go ahead and share the screen and get started for the day. Okay. Getting back to work over here. So, a couple of things. First, we've got to finish the artwork, right? So this will be the highlight side. Okay, bye. It's good to see you for that few minutes that you were here. Glad to have you for any time we can have you. Okay, so there we go. Hey, Brent, how you doing, man? All right. Doing some highlight work here. We're just going to finish off this comic. Won't take but a second here. We're almost done with it anyway. So, I'll just do this and that. My son thinks this is the funniest comic ever. Ever. He thinks this is the funniest thing that has ever been evered. And I keep telling him, I don't know if I'd be proud of this. And he's like, it's so funny because it's true. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think this is something I'd be proud of. Well, I'm glad you're doing good, my friend. Good to see you here. So, yeah. Kind of going along here, and I'm going to clean this up a little. I'm having some response problems with my pen here. I am out of space on everything. And so everything is running horribly slow. I actually am most irritated with running out of space on my phone because I just bought a new phone with more space. And the whole intention here was because I was having a problem with that. There's nothing running right now. So why are you running so slow? Okay. I am actually of the opinion that I have a memory leak somewhere. Something really weird is going on here. Because I've left Photoshop running since last night, but it is definitely having issues. So we will come back to me while I fix... Oh yeah, do we want to save this? You know what? Let's save it as something else. This is the other thing we're going to work on today. So I am of the opinion I have a memory leak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close Photoshop and just power cycle it. Because it's taking a long time to go down. That sounds like that's probably part of my problem. And then I check everything else that's up and running. And the only things that are running right now are So there we go. I've closed everything except for the streaming services, and now I'm going to power cycle. Not power cycle the computer, but power cycle Photoshop. Noticing the camera has decided to turn. Kind of liked when the camera sort of centers on this window back here. This is a pretty window. I say as we wait for Photoshop to come back to intelligence here. You just have them hanging out. So my computer is a horrible Frankenstein machine. And I mean, while I wait for this to load, it really is. It's got 20 gigs of memory. And I like to start there because that just shows you that it's not running any normal combination of memory. It's running some kind of bizarre pseudo combination of weirdness. But it's got a couple of problems that have plagued it since the beginning. My best friend came over one day. He was about to be deployed, so he only had about 15 minutes, and I just got the new hard drive. Hey, Andrew, good to see you, man. I just gotten this new hard drive, so he came in and he's an IT guy, and that's actually what he does in the Army is IT, and he came over real quick and formatted the drive real quickly for me, because I was like, hey, I've got too many options now. I don't remember how to do these drive formats. So he formatted the drive, and he only formatted half of it. So I have this 3 terabyte drive in there that's only 1.5 terabytes right now. The other 1.5 terabytes is just empty, and I can't format it because I'd lose everything that's on the other half of the drive. So what's really needing to happen right now is the old C drive was dying. This is why I bought a new hard drive. That old C drive was dying. So I left the C drive in there, and it has actually run for the last 2.5 years just fine. I've never saved anything to it, and I've never read anything from it, but I kept it in case there was something on there that I needed. That's been 2 years now. I don't need it. And so what I'm going to do is very shortly here, I'm going to need to get a 4 terabyte drive, put it into the slot of that C drive that used to be in there. It's like I want to say it's a 512 meg or a 512 gig. And I'm going to swap it out for a 4 terabyte drive, move everything to that 4 terabyte drive, reformat the 3 terabyte drive that did not actually get formatted, and then pull the other drive out so I'm down to 2 hard drives in there. I've got to de-Frankenstein this machine. This machine is such a Frankenstein. So Frankenstein-y. So that's, anyway. It's not a matter of possessing the, wow, flicker rate high. Hang on. Don't look at the screen, guys. There we go. Wow, that was weird. Okay. So it's not a matter of not having the resources. It's a matter of having to take the machine down and redo it. Because it's going to take a day or two for everything to go through all this stuff, during which time I cannot work. So there can be no work being done. So we have to wait until I've got a break. And so, oh yeah, no problem, Andrew. I'm actually, this isn't, it's one of those, it's a time. It's time. Time's the problem. I have to be able to take this machine out of commission, and it's controlling my entire life right now. So, I know you're an IT guy. Actually, Andy's like IT as well, and actually right now, because I think David left, but right now I think I have my all armed forces people here, because Andy and Brent are both armed forces people. So this is my armed forces brigade. So, which is cool. But yeah, it's all about the time. It has nothing to do with the resources. It's just time. One of the things that I'm grateful. Yep. So one of the things I'm very grateful for about this 2-hour time that I'm doing every morning is that it's very much it's getting me through my backlog of work. I'm chewing through my work very fast because of this. So even if, see you later, Andy. Even if nothing else comes from this except for just hanging out with you guys every morning, which is very good, by the way, I still am getting my work done. And people are leaving me alone now for 2 hours in the morning. Something that wasn't actually happening before. Okay, I'm going to try to share the screen again. See if we can't get back into this without flicker. There we go. No flicker this time. Okay. So, we're going to get back to work here on this. There we go. And we'll go through here. And all I'm doing is just cleaning this up and making it look a little prettier. Right? Smoothing this all out. Anyway, all I wanted to say, Brent, was I really appreciate that you're willing to help. What I need is to figure out a backup computer, which I could do. If I were to do, and this is actually maybe something to think about, if I were to do a live draw where we recorded me drawing on paper. So maybe that's what will happen. We're going to come up at some point in time to a point where I'm going to have to lay out the pages on my comic. And I like to lay those out in... the comic stuff. When I do that, I tend to lay it out in on standard paper. So that might be something I'll do, is when we get to layouts, I might put my computer in to the shop, have them do that, and then we'll do layouts physically, which would be nice. We could probably go outside and sit on my little patio and broadcast, and that wouldn't be bad. So, and that's not a bad idea, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's not a bad idea at all. So I could do the layouts physically, and you guys could hang with me on that. And then during that time, I wouldn't need this tablet for broadcast. We could just go along and do the show like we have been doing. Restream's a website. So all the things I use for the show would be on, if I could get onto my Surface or whatever, I certainly could do that. And if I just pulled my camera from here, in fact, my Surface is not the world's worst thing to draw on. I ordered a pin for my iPad, which I think would be interesting, but it's coming in from China. And sadly, everything coming from China is extraordinarily slow. People going back and forth between anywhere in Asia is having a problem these days. I'm not even really sure what's going to happen with my other kid that is stuck in Japan at the moment. Got to get her over here at some point. She's not really my kid. She's somebody else's kid. But I've kind of adopted her. So, everything I have is Frankenstein. I dream of a day when I can buy something designed for what it's supposed to do. The Surface that I use, the one that you saw at the convention, Brent, is a Surface 3 standard, a normal Surface 3. It's not a Pro. But the Surface 3 will accept inputs on its digitizer. So I bought an aftermarket pen for it that works rather well. It actually does a great job. It's not a bad pen, yada, yada, yada. However, it has pen input problems. And it's not the world's best real estate. It's like not one of the best sort of devices for that job, which is why I went with my XP pen monitor, right? Because this monitor is far, far, far better at this. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this like this. There we go. So the pen that I ordered though for my my iPad is it's called Digital Magica, and they've made it's a fascinating concept. The pen is really just a electrotransmittable pen that works with any device that uses a digitizer. Theoretically, it'll work on your iPhone. It'll work on your Android phone. It'll work on everything, but it's got a very, very, very tiny point and has pressure sensitivity. And I don't know how they did it, but it had great reviews, and people were saying, it's not one of those ones that has a little shield or whatever around it that makes it act weird, or makes it huge and bulky. It just has like a copper ballpoint, which the only complaint that people had about it was that it often scratched up screen protectors. It is fine. I haven't used a screen protector. I usually put my iPad in a folder, and the screen protectors cause lag sometimes, so I sadly don't often use screen protectors, even though I would love to. Right? So my iPad doesn't actually have a screen protector, so this works perfectly. It'll be fine. So that's where we are on that. We're going to go along here, and I'm just going to highlight this area right through here and back around. There we go. So that's a thing. I don't know. And so, yeah, I mean, the idea here is that even my phone has a pen in it. so that I can draw. Every time I take notes, I very rarely take notes in real words. I mean, I do if I come up with like jokes for comic strips or something. But for the most part, I just use pens for the thought process here. Like for this particular strip, this is a great example of it. In this strip, you have less of a joke about there's less to write on this one. Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. I don't know if a Surface Pen will work on a Surface 3 Standard. I think the Surface Pen only works on the Pro. That said, it is my goal to get a Surface Pro at some point in time. That is my goal. I just need $1,000 for it. $2,000. Everybody's like, why are you getting such an expensive Surface? And I'm like, because every Surface that I have owned has been extraordinarily useful. Very, very useful. But I have usually exceeded the grasp of it within a short amount of time. And so it only takes a small amount of time before I have exceeded the yeah, so Brent, you wiped your Surface and put non-Windows on it? Like you put Linux on it? That's actually kind of cool. I got to give props for that. So, all right. Yep, Ubuntu. That's what I figured you did. Like I said, it's what my wife's been gunning for. She keeps thinking Ubuntu's a good idea for the laptops. I'm not going to say she's wrong. I think it's a good idea. On a Pro, though, I guess you'd need the horsepower for it. That makes sense. Or you'd want the horsepower. You don't need the horsepower. That's a wonderful thing about Linux. Maybe I think that I want to put right? I think that's like true of Linux in general. Huh. So you can get Linux to actually access your cellular? That'd be useful to know. I think to add to this, we're going to do this. But you have the ability to, and I think that's kind of the interesting thing, is that you have the ability to. There we go. Okay. Okay. The other thing I want to do over here is find my... I feel like this is clunky too. TB's line's clunky. There we go. Much slicker. Definitely something that happens with me when I do my comic strips is that over time I will alter and change the text. So the concept's still the same, but I can smooth it all out. So there's that. So there we go. It's a lovely day outside. Trim off that top part. Bork. Save one more time. Turn off the white barrier between. Okay, it's off. My gradients have been picked. Background texture is correct. The numbering is correct. All right. So now that we've done that, make sure it's saved. And then we flatten. Image size. And the width must be 60. Nope. 100. There we go. Then we say save as. And we save this as the JPEG format. It totally is. Hey, Jerry. You gotta know that. I mean, it's a thing. So you can read this one of two ways. Either you can take this that AR has got anger management problems, which that's not an uncommon thing to think of for AR. Or you can take trying to type in anything on a game system. Left, 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 down, down. A. Right, 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 right. Up, up, up. Left, left. Down, down. Right, right. Oh, crap. Left, left, left. Down, down. A. Which is another thing. I mean, it's like, that has always been one of my problems with signing in is I'd love for them to put a keyboard on these things. Back in the day, I remember we had systems that had keyboards on them. It was so useful. And it's like now they're like, why would you need a keyboard? Just enter your password 17 times. By the way, don't make your password AAAA1111. Okay, we are done with this guy. Now we're going to do this guy. Okay, so we've moved on to a different story. These are background characters. They're just going to be in the very, 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 very back of of scenes. So what we're after, let me open this up for us to look at, and I'll show you exactly what we're trying to do here. We're going to go to here, shared resources. Okay. I have a number of zipatones that I've picked up over the years. And what happens in the zipatones is they have these things that they can do where you just take these zip tones and you can just transfer these to the backgrounds of your comics. So these are just a whole bunch of high school students for the background of your comics, right? You're doing your comics, you throw the high school students in. It's very simple, right? Here's a bunch of high school students in a classroom, just being high schooly, right? Some of them are looking on their flip phone. So, I mean, I might have had this from a long time ago. And here's just a whole bunch of high school students existing, right, over here on the right. The thing that's great about these is the whole point behind this zipatone is to give you the ability to populate a background fast and quickly without needing to actually hand draw everybody in the background. I hope I'm not like disturbing everybody's belief of how comic books are done. But the truth is, and this is something that's kind of vital, in manga is done usually by one individual, sometimes done, I mean, the early manga, your first manga is always going to be done by you, by yourself, in your little apartment, and you have to do 30 pages in 30 days. And so that's a page a day. If you can do 2 pages a day, you can actually go out and have a weekend. And they pay almost nothing for it. If you get up there in the ranks, and you have to remember that manga artists do it all themselves. They're completely self, they don't, I mean, they write it, they draw it, they ink it, and that's why manga is generally not colored, is because that's one step we can skip. You know what I mean? So I have a couple of these, which are just these. I'll never use these. I never do school comics, but I got them to get an idea of what could be done. You know, what should I do? Can I do? You know, things like that. I'm looking at this picture here and I'm like, these are mostly students except her in this pencil skirt. She looks like Misa Hayase from Macross. Or like I see a purse over here and a purse here. My kids were never allowed to bring purses into classes. So, and then we've got like a hat here. So I'm trying to figure out, who are these people? Oh yeah, the perspective's awesome. I love the perspective on all of these. So I've taken this to the next level. Oh, here's another one. I love this. This is all the students staring at you importantly, like judging. They're all judging you. Students judging. And here are all the students sitting on the floor. My kids would do this too. And then they do the W leg thing. And I'd be like, guys, you're just going to ruin your hips doing that. Stop doing that. I'm like, either sit Seiza or sit on your butt. I don't care which, but stop being goofy. So, long and the short of it is, we're going to do the same thing here. I went on ahead and just rendered a bunch of random maquettes in Daz Studio. walking, talking, hanging out, and chatting. And what we're going to do is we're going to make some groups of these guys. Like this group of 3, this group of 2. This will be a group of 5. This is a group of 5. And then we're going to cut them out, and then we're going to put them into backgrounds. And I'll show you what that's going to look like. And it'll probably be another week or so, because this is our big project for this next 2 weeks, is getting the backgrounds in. Okay? So these are just maquettes that were done in Daz Studio rather quickly. I'm not in any major hurry. I drop my pen down. And these don't have to be perfect. These are exactly what we were just looking at with the students, right? So all we're doing here is the same thing. We're just do-do-do, do-do-do-do, just kind of roughing in, some basic shapes. And then just kind of, and this way it'll feel like a manga, but I don't have to redraw this over and over and over. Just draw once. So put her in some kind of blousey thing. It's not important what it is at this point in time, just that it is and it looks somewhat okay here. We don't know what fashion, I'm not trying to make a fashion statement here. There we go. And this is what we would call the mid-range guys. Right? No matter what, these guys will be in the background and not very obvious or clear. So I just need enough on here that you guys will look at it and say, oh, there's people in the background. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right. This guy here, just walking along with her. They probably don't even know each other. I get all caught up in what's the story with these guys? What are they doing? And this guy's talking to the other guy. Whoa, undo, space. This guy's talking to this guy. There we go. This guy's a gal. That's okay. All right. Oh, when did it switch layers? How long ago did it switch layers? And how badly do I want to keep this layer? Oh, it switched layers not that long ago. There we go. Must have happened when I grabbed part of this layer down here. That's what happened. Instead of hitting space to drag it up, it swapped layers. It was all right. Space. go. Good morning, Paul. How are you doing this morning? I think from her body language, I'm reading that she's not liking this guy talking to her. All right. This guy is, I think maybe he's haranguing her. I don't know. This may not be a good thing. This is also the reason why I don't like to get involved in the stories of these people, because then I'm like, wait, is he like trying to ask her out on a date and she's not interested? It's like, totally not drawing that. Maybe she is interested. Maybe this isn't a date. Maybe they're just working. Maybe he's trying to convince her that his new project needs to pass, like, review, and she's the only one holding it back. Because in her mind's eye, his project is going to cost the company millions of credits. And so he's trying to convince her here that, in fact, the company will make money off of his project. And so this is a good idea, and that the company really needs to do this, you see. And that's what's going on here. That makes me feel a whole lot better. And really, the fact that they're not going to put this into there we go. So now we've got these guys and these guys going, some chatting going on. But really, there's more. You've got to pass the blah, 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 blah. And these two guys are talking about how weird it is that he keeps trying to push his agenda of this weird scientific cyclotron, when we all know that cyclotrons do nothing more than make it impossible, and there's no way around male pattern baldness. Because this is Picard. There we go. Cyclotrons do not, in fact, increase people's exercising ability. They do not get onto more cycles. And so that's what this guy's talking about right here, is how there can't be more cycles going on here now, or something. So I like the fact that Paul's still waking up, and I'm over here going on this long rant about cyclotrons. So that's how Paul has to deal with the morning this morning. Right? Arg. There we go. He's talking about cyclotrons, and he says, "This is ridiculous, man. You shouldn't be dealing with cyclotrons." Right? Everybody knows the cyclotrons has been industry anyway. Now when you see these guys in the background, you're going to be like, oh, it's the cyclotron guys. Ah, it's the guy trying to convince the girl to fund his project. Oh boy. A question always going through everybody's mind. Do you have anything better to do? No, I don't. I don't really have anything better to do, so I'm just going to sit here and make commentary. Wow. There you go. Cyclotron was Megatron's younger cousin. Just something that people don't know, but you learned it here first, so there you go. It's a little known, scarcely talked about fact. People just don't know these things. It's just saying, for the benefit of argument here. Make sure I've got that going. Hey, you know what? I don't think you're on my snowball. Let's switch to snowball. There we go. I probably sound a whole lot better now. There you go. Especially if I'm going to sit here and mumble about important things like Cyclotron being Megatron's older cousin or younger cousin. You know, these are all things that are critical, and you have to hear it in high fidelity so that you all know the truth is out there, so says Mulder. All right. So, okay, this guy here and his friend's former roommate, cousins. Yep. What does that make him? Absolutely nothing, which is what you are about to become. There's two sides to every Schwartz, a light side and a dark side. Still think the funniest part about Spaceballs is the part where Tuvok says we ain't found shit. That's still funny. Still funny to me. And if you guys did not know it, that was Tim Russ who says that, who also later will play Tuvok, then there's your little bit of Star Trek trivia, and that one, unlike Cyclotron being Megatron's cousin, that is a true fact. Yeah. I'll spend some extra time on this. Because I know that I'm going to reuse these a lot, so that it's worth putting some time and effort into it. It's worth it to also make them silhouettes of Riker and Picard. I'm just saying. That is not Riker and Picard talking to each other. No. Mm-mm. Okay. And Riker here is listening to Picard go on and explain about his next exploits in archaeology. And luckily they're walking, otherwise Riker would be asleep by now. Because archaeology bores Riker quite a bit. And he only listens because Picard's his buddy, his friend. So there's that. Quick check. Double check that. That's good. Okay, so we look at this, and this is where we are at this point. Some just random people for the background. One of the things I did notice about the Zipatones was that none of them have have faces. And that's important and specific. And I think there's a reason specifically for that. And that reason is if these guys had eyes, you would be attracted to the background characters more than you are. And they need to just be back there. They're just background characters. So they're not. It's not important to have them that way, or to put in eyes and nostrils and whatever. We're not being that detailed. That's a hallway. There we go. There we go. Moving on to, I have a business meeting in 30 minutes here, and I'm in a hurry. Right? So that's what he does. He's got a super important business meeting that he's about to head off for. Because that's what he does. And we'll put him in whatever is the space age version of a 3-piece suit here. And I'm going to give him short sleeves. Naturally, everybody who's in 3-piece suits needs to be wearing short sleeves. Obviously. Everybody's going to be like, there's the dude wearing short sleeves. The funny part is, nobody's going to see this, except you guys. When you read my comics, you'll be like, hey, it's the dudes talking about the cyclotron. It's the guy with short sleeves who's in a business meeting. You're going to see him in the background. You'll be like, oh my God. And it'll be very funny. I don't know if it'll be distracting. That might be worse than any spoilers you could get on my comics here. Be like, so this is like, my mom was in production. She was a talent agent and a producer for movies, a movie producer back in the day. And she had this horrible penchant of pointing out boom mics in shots and things like that as I was a kid. And I find it funny that looking back on it now, I am immediately pulled out of the shot if there's a boom mic involved. Right? So, okay, we move on to Kimberly here, who has a headache and has had a headache all morning because the copier broke. Right? And all she needs to do is copy 17 documents before the 11 o'clock meeting. And that's it. That's all she's got to do. Right? But no, copier broke. And now her manager is on the phone with her all the time. Just nonstop. And won't leave her alone. Now, if the copier would work, she'd be fine. But alas, the copier is broken. Again. Right? So this is Kimberly. She has issues. She's not happy. And she's having a bad, rough day. part of her problem is the anime hair. Anybody who has hair like this ends up just having a problem. It's in the nature of the things just to be that way. If you have hair like this, you're going to break a copier. There you go. This is Guy Logic 101. Obviously. Anime hair breaks copiers. Right? It ran out of ink. And so she's now having a bad day because it ran out of ink. It always runs out of ink. So her copier is out of toner. And she's having a rough time with life over here. And so she's sitting here and she's just having a bad hair day. And she's trying to explain all of this. I am on the wrong layer. When did it grab the wrong layer again? Not that long ago. All right. Back to Work Slave. That has to be a glitch in Photoshop. This, all of a sudden, there's zero pressure control. That's got to be a Photoshop problem because I run into that now here, and one of the reasons that I stopped using my Surface was because of that. That same problem. And this is a different system, different computer. Thanks, computer. Okay. She's telling her woes to Betty here. Betty, who's listening intently and trying to figure out exactly how to fix the copier. That's what Betty wants to do. Betty is an engineer. I mean, she's just doing like basic work these days, but in her heart of hearts, she's an engineer, right? She's always been an engineer. She fixes things all the time. It's her thing. So Betty here is listening intently and cueing in on keywords, like mostly coffee, I think is probably what she's really cueing in on because maybe she's hungry or thirsty, just really wants breakfast. But she is interested in this copier problem because she thinks she can fix it. And while she's at it, she'll invent a better copier. One that does not use ink. And then all of our problems are solved because of Betty. Because of Betty. We all clap for Betty. Good job, Betty. Good job. Okay. Everybody's like, why are you a storyteller? Because I'm weird. I think it's really because I'm just weird. That's really what it boils down to, folks, is I'm just weird. We're a broken breed of people. I mean, I've got all these stories going on here about Betty and Kimberly and this copier going. Right? So Betty's an engineer. She loves to change things. I know engineers. They love to change things. Okay. Man, these guys are like in the same pose. Almost. So, Joe here. Joe is one of those people who he doesn't listen to anybody's advice, and he doesn't like to listen to advice. He has his own way of doing things, right? So here's Joe going along, being Joe-like, and he's a banker, you see. And Joe has always been sort of not listening to people, and that's been his nature, right? Because he doesn't like to listen to people. I know people like this, especially when they tell him not to wear scarves. Apparently he's wearing a scarf. It's all right. It's the future. People wear all kinds of weird stuff in the future. Right? It's nice outside. The city that they live in is perpetually going to have climate control, so I'm not terribly worried. I mean, at some point in time, I'm probably going to make these same guys, except holding umbrellas. But for right now, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to do a few of these. This is not the last one we're going to do, by the way. Which is either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on whether you're enjoying the random stories about the lives of these people. But anyway, his name's Joe, right? We called him Joe. Joe here is a banker, and he does some great banking work for the First Bank of Polaris. But, he kind of might have done some shady dealings at one point in time. I just realized that the bottom half of Betty is not here. We need the bottom half of Betty. So we'll just put that in real quick. Betty's story is not done. Okay, so Betty here is wearing tight-fitting jeans, which is fine, except that she's going to hate it when she has to pull these jeans off, because invariably they will not fit over her shoes or her feet. Betty might have pretty big feet. Who knows? What you do, how you sacrifice for fashion. And that's what Betty does, is sacrifice for fashion. She's a very stylish engineer. Okay. So, moving right along, we got Joe here. Now, Joe, like I said, was maybe caught embezzling a little once or twice, and Securities and Exchange Commission is on to him, right? They're on him about this. So that's what Jim back here is trying to explain to him, is that no matter which way you put it, he can't be constantly embezzling stuff and expect to actually get away with it. I mean, it's just the way it goes. And Joe, of course, like I said, Joe doesn't listen to anybody. So he's definitely not listening to Jim here, who's been trying to explain for this entire walk the pros and cons of embezzlement, right? So it's not helping any. And honestly, the fact that he just keeps not listening is just getting irritating. So at some point in time here, Jim's going to get fed up. It's only a matter of time. And, he'll quit the company. But we knew that was coming. Because, This entire thing has been a long-standing fight between these two. And might ruin their friendship. I mean, I think that would ruin their friendship. Definitely. I think embezzling ruins everybody's friendships, right? So, embezzlement. That's what we've got going on here is embezzlement. Embezzlement. Can I have my pen back, please? Thank you. All right. So we got Jim and Joe and their ongoing problems with embezzlement. And at least, Jim's trying. And that's the important thing, right? I mean, when it boils down to it, what you really want is for someone to be trying. And that's what Jim's doing over here. He's trying. He's working the situation, guys. Right? And there we go. Now what we've got is one row of random people to put in the background. Okay, so this is what I call my mid-range background characters. So they'll just be people walking down the road in the mid-range. Now what we're going to do is this. First we're going to save. Because it would suck if I lost it now. I'd be like, oh God, what's my problem? Now we're going to do the same thing, except this is far range. So I'm going to increase my brush size, right? And we're going to just do this. And then we're just going to go around the outside of this guy, like this, and maybe just a few small details inside. But nothing major. These guys go further back. They're much further back. So when you're looking on street scenes, these guys will just be way in the background. So that's why I'm using a thicker brush for them. Is because where they're going to be in the background is much further back. Right? So these just have to be roughly human shaped. And we're good. All right? Just enough that you can tell that these are people talking to each other and doing stuff. And the truth of the matter is, this is the first time I have ever tried this experiment. So this could prove to be a phenomenal disaster. If so, you'll see it here first. Right? Got this person here, and she's just talking about something, and who knows what. And she's talking about something. They're both trying to convince him to do something, and he's doing this Darth Vader pinch over here, which makes me think that he's about to choke them. Which, that could be a thing. On the streets. Nobody will notice that. I'll go up here like this. And all we're really doing is just making it so that, the feel of people is here. We don't need anything more than that. Right? These are just way back in the background silhouettes. In fact, I could probably be right here and not have to worry about it. Just enough that you can tell that these are people. Okay, moving right along. There we go. Putting this around here. A quiet batch today from you guys. It's not a complaint, just an observation. You guys seem very busy today, which is either good or bad, depending on how you look at it. One thing I really want to make sure is that I've got everything sealed in so that it's not. So we will move this around here, just kind of doing this. There we go. From this distance, we can't really tell if they're male or female, so it's not obvious, and that's okay. Because at this point in time, we don't know whether this guy is messing with Kimberly, or is this some other girl who's messing with Kimberly, or what's going on here? Nobody knows. Nobody really knows. Does anybody really know? Okay. Make sure it's all sealed. Later, when we do this, you'll see why I want to make sure it's all sealed in. Right? All right. There we go. We'll do that and that. These are just my humans. There will be a whole bunch of aliens that I'll put in here too at some point. So I can fill the streets with a lot of people, and it'll always look diverse. It'll look like there's a lot of folks and things and stuff and traffic. Move this along. There we go. He's in a hurry because he's got a box of nuclear isotopes that could explode at any minute, and that's what this is. And then we've got Kimberly and her headache, talking to non-Kimberly and her headache. And now she's drinking coffee. There we go. There. If any of you guys ever use my techniques in your comics, I would hope that, toss a coin or two my way. That'd be nice. Because I'm all about shortening this up so that you can get straight to storytelling. Anything that gets us straight to storytelling. Right, so there we go. Using that. And maybe this time he's got coffee. They both have coffees. How I number my files? Now, what do you mean by, Paul's talking about thinking about how I number my files. Are you talking about me specifically or just folks numbering files? Because when it comes to this guy, we're going to have some important numbering questions. There we go. Now I'll save it. So here's what we got. We take these guys, right? And I'll show you what we're going to do. Take this batch, and cut and paste. Put him over here, and we take this group and we put them right here, right? Then you take this layer and we're going to do magic, and I'll show you the magic here. Take layer 2, make it like that. Turn off the background. Right. Let me take layer 4 and put them like this. And this is where magic happens. Let me take layer 2, and if all worked well, right, duplicate this layer. Totally making an ad for COVID-19. There we go. And now you have what looks like a totally crowded street, full of random dudes doing random stuff, right? And we've got people behind them over here, and people here going this way. Let's go like that, right? And that's how you make an instant crowd scene, right? We now have a ton of people. Now, if I really want to be awesome, I add an even further down file or layer, like this. And these guys, we select and select inverse, and we say delete, and then fill, right? And you can put these guys even further back, like this. I have to put it behind this layer. And we have to do the same thing with this layer we just did with the other layer, right? And duplicate this, put it over here, and then we say delete. And we have like the busiest street ever, right? You also need a little bit of white background for you. Nope. There we go. There. And now it looks like a crowded street. And that didn't take long at all for us to get to a crowded street. I mean, I'll have to go through and fix some of this, obviously. But that looks like hundreds of thousands of people. Like a zillion people. This is like the crossing in Shinjuku Station. This was done quickly and fast to illustrate the point. So I'm not terribly worried. I'll go back through and clean it up and make it look nice and everything like that. But the key here is that it doesn't take a lot now to make an illustration of what looks like a ton of people. Now, all I'm going to do is put these all on flat planes in a 3D setting. And it doesn't matter where my camera is, because as soon as my camera moves a little bit to one side or the other, right? As soon as, well, I'm going to have to flatten this out to prove this point. So let's go ahead and grab you. Right? As soon as the camera moves just a little bit, we have a completely different array of pictures here. It looks completely different. You've got a different set of individual instructions going on behind there. And so every picture that I make using these, even though I only drew one set of people, every picture that I make from this point forward will be unique. And that's what this is all about. Is that we've got all these background people, and I'll be able to do this in a very unique style. And since they're all my dudes, I did draw them. The fact that I'm repeating using them in the backgrounds over and over and over, So that's how this works. So there we go. So I need to get my histories up because I actually want to go back to the last time we saved. How long ago was it that we saved? A long time ago. It's before this. So let's go ahead and do this the clean way. That's a hallway. Before we've confused ourselves really badly. Okay, let's take this, duplicate it, and put it up here. And let's do this right. Let's get this squared away correctly. All right. Select that. We'll get in here all these arms. We've got some spots where we're going to have to go back in and repair. Because I can see that there's a leak right there. Which is, it's okay. We'll get to it. And like, all of her pants are leaking. That just sounds bad. It's a personal problem, man. It's so totally a personal problem. Why am I dealing with your leaky pants? Right? And that's the idea, is that we've effectively got all the lines that indicate. But fast lines that indicate here. We can make these work. So, here we go. Let's fix this right here. There we go. Then nothing is going to sound right. Don't want to start saying goofy things. Well, I think it's too late now. Okay. So we'll take and do a little repair here as well. Oop. There we go. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys there too. Okay. Now I'm only going to put this on the outside. And I'm actually going to put it in the center. There we go. And this just gives a little bit of weight to the outside. That old comic book trick here, right? So I'll take these guys now should all be, oh, her head. Oh my God. Ermagerd. Okay. I don't know where the leak is. I don't know where your head's leaking, dude. But we're going to fix it. And this is one of those, we'll just manually fix it. It's easier. Problem was you had anime hair. If you didn't have anime hair, you wouldn't have this problem. Okay. There we go. You're suffering from a very large case of anime hair. Oh no. Not that. Doctor, will I make it? No, I'm sorry. You won't. You won't survive. All right. Okay. Look it over because, like I said, you want to do this right the first time so that you don't have to mess with this again. All right. Deselect. Now, check that everything is solid. Make sure this layer is 100%. All other layers are off. Shift E. And what we're going to do now is there we go. So that's group 1. And the best part about this is you make group 2, which is just like group 1, except rearranged, right? So like these 3 can be moved. I just trim part of the head off of somebody I did. So these can't be moved. There we go. Let me take these 3. What is it with me trying to cut off this guy's head? Boy, I'm bad. Cut. Paste. Move this guy group over here. And these 2 guys are by themselves. Riker and Picard here. So we'll cut and paste. And move him over here. This guy's by himself. So we can cut and paste. Oop. We can only cut and paste if we're on the right layer. Cut and paste, layer check. I actually kind of feel like these 3 are probably by themselves too. So I could do something like this. Cut and paste like that. And then we'll go back here and get her by herself. And we'll cut and paste. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take these guys and move them over here. He's by himself too, so he could be separated. Cut and paste. And these 3 now could be put here. And she's now talking to him. And he's just lost. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Never does. These 2 are here. And those guys are there. And she just looks lost. He looks lost. She looks lost. She looks like she's reading a sign. And then this all becomes 1 layer. Looks different than this. And you can actually stick them together. And you've just got a bunch of people wandering around in the city going this way. And especially if you take this and you do this number, then you have traffic going both directions on a city street, right? And these guys back here. And now we have a bunch of people going both directions. And she's talking to her again. She's talking to her over here. And she's talking to her over here. That's funny. But this is how you get crowds. Right? Okay. Now we'll do this line too. And this line needs to be fixed into. So we'll go ahead and do this. And we'll go like that. I'm duplicating this line there, this white border, because it's just easier to deal with. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with this. I'm going to go work, and then hit Shift. That's Control, Shift. That. Nope. Yeah, okay. Here, we're going to do this. Aha. That's how we have that control. I'm going to go through here. We go delete. We take that out. Man, you guys are here for crowds. Wasn't that fun? You spent the day with me on crowd control. That's funny. I'll do this. There we go. It's just easier to color that back in. There. And there. All right. This group is just background players, so we're going to just merge these two together as is, because they already have a dark, thick background. So I don't need to worry too much about these guys, right? Then I want to make a copy of them, though, because these guys, if you do this, take off contiguous, you do this, it'll get all the inside pieces too. Control Shift I inverts the selection, delete, deletes them all, and you're like, what? Why would you do that? Because then you can do that, right? And this becomes that very, very, very background layer. It's back a third, like this. So then you've got these guys who are back here, but you can just offset like this. You've got these guys here, and your social anxiety is now through the roof, right? You have way too many people, and this is like a party. It's a party, man. This is a party. Looks like they're about to dance. Dancing, yeah! There you go. Instant crowd. So we'll save. And now I have a bunch of people. Now, in order to make this work for... This just looks like NDK now. This is just what NDK looks like. All right. I feel like the second row right here. This is not the second row. This is the first row. She's just short. Okay, well, that's a thing. Short people are short. That's a thing. Okay. We'll move this group over here, and this group goes over here. And we can take this group and flip them going that way. And now they're kind of going that way. There we go. And now you actually have something that really does look like a crowd of people in the middle of a room. Okay, so now we've made crowds that I can use in the background at any time. The next thing is to make plates out of them so that we can easily adjust them and put them into place everywhere. And what I'll probably do, and this is what I was kind of wondering what Paul was trying to do here when he was talking about number of files. But what I will probably do is rank them. So it'll be 1 A, B, C, D, E, or whatever, or maybe the other way around. A will be this front rank right through here. All of these guys will be rank A, right? And then this will be rank B right here. And this will be rank C, right? And I might even do A going left and B going right. I mean, I have a lot of possible letter options here. What we didn't do is duplicate these guys. I mean, we have all this space available to us. Now it looks like an amusement park, you know? All these people just at this amusement park. Hope you guys are finding this as fascinating as I mean, I hope you're finding this fascinating, because otherwise this is just boring watching me do these things. All right? Okay, we have an amusement park. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an amusement park. All these people. This is how you ramp up my wife's social anxiety right here. Put her into the nope category of well, I'm glad you're enjoying this print, because I'm kind of like sitting here going, this is boring. I actually hate doing these set building and background textures and things like that. But what it saves me in time doing the comic, once we start the comic, I can literally just render the city. And I've got a background that's unique, totally different than any other background we've ever that's been there. And if I use maquettes in the backgrounds, then I literally can just have a page done in 2 hours. You know, so I can get from a page taking 2 days to a page taking 2 hours, which means that theoretically we could do 5 pages a week here. If we get going here, if we get rolling on this. And that's what I'm hoping for, in theory. That's an in theory thing. So, but crowd control there. There you go, crowds. I think that's somewhat entertaining that this actually looks like I spent forever drawing all these little individual people, and everybody's like, he spent so much time drawing all these individual people. And all of you people could be like, we know the truth. He didn't. Now, like I said, what I will probably do is a couple of other ones where the weather is different. It's snowing, it's raining, and I'll do the same thing in different kinds of inclement weather and different kinds of things to make it so that it doesn't, you know, I've got the ability to put in rain people and snow people and stuff. It does kind of look like the dealer's room though, doesn't it? I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. So there you go. This is people. I'm going to I'll keep this background in here. I'll put this on like this. And we will first save as stands. And then I'll save as. We'll call this crowd. Crowd. Otherwise, people are, you know, otherwise I won't know where it is or what it's for or what I was supposed to do with it. I'm sure it was critical. Where did that go? But this gives me something to post to Instagram a little later on today. It's like a crowd of people created today on Instagram, or created today, and It's like, there are no children in this, I'm noticing. We might have to go back and add some random children in there. Because I'm noticing I've got nobody but adults in here, really. I mean, I've got some short people, but she's clearly not a child, and neither is she. So, thinking we need some children to make this a little bit more realistic that it's a huge city. Although here again, that's something to think about the station Polaris. I guess there would be children. I mean, it'd be the effect, it'd be the Enterprise D effect, which is, if you're going to be on long-range missions for years, you're going to have to carry your family with you. And that's the point of the Polaris. Which reminds me, the next thing we're going to work on for the next 10 minutes is the Polaris. Now, originally, when I did the Polaris, the ship design was kind of like this, with a city in the middle like this. Right? And here was the city. And like the ship's bridge was up here. And looking at this, I realized, A, this looks just like the Homeworld ship, which that's not very reasonable. And, I mean, because I can't be stealing other people's designs, and I played Homeworld, so I can't claim ignorance. So I had a better idea, though. What really would happen is that the ship would be a city on top, right? With sort of a long tail, right? For the fold generators. And then it would have these pedal shields that were solar panels and covered the city in case of an emergency, which would make it look like a big flower. And I thought that was a much more interesting and unique way of dealing with it, and would look intriguing and has a certain amount of biological feel that would be fascinating, right? Your city is in here. Right? And I've never really seen a design like this before. So I feel like this is at least unique enough that people wouldn't go, oh, well, that's obviously blah, 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 blah. He was used to, little buildings that hang down underneath like this. And then here would be where all of the massive ships are held at bay in storage in here. So you'd have your battleship sitting in here, and some cruisers sitting in here, and little destroyers. And then way down here in these little dots are all of your little corvettes, right? All parked there. So this is my thought of what to do for the Polaris. And the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. The more I liked the idea of it. And this would be some kind of like massive cargo train effect thing. Right, which has then at the bottom would have a hyperspace blade. It's important. Give it a hyperspace blade. Not much of one, but a little bit of one. This whole area here could be a hyperspace blade. So my ships always have like strange affectations that have been developing over the last 20 years of me making comics and space comics. And I've noticed that I have a specific set of things that identify my ships. One of them is I love hammerheads. And you can see that with the Corvette that we're doing, that, you know, it's got a hammerhead. And the other one is hyperspace blades. The huge blades off the bottom of the ship. It comes from, I believe it comes from really, what is it called? The Nebulan B frigate, which from the side has like all of this, and then most of this up here, and then the engine's back there. And I loved this part of the Nebulan B. I thought that looked so cool. Something hanging down like this huge cutter, like a keel fin on a sailboat, you know. And so now I design ships, and they always seem to have a structure like this on the bottom of them. And so I just call them the hyperspace blades to get them through hyperspace. And this explains nothing, but it looks cool, and that's all that's important. The truth is the Corvette has 2 hyperspace blades, and that's its vertical stabilizers. But again, the Corvette, unlike the rest of the ships in my fleet, the Corvette has to deal with atmosphere. So its hyperspace blades need to be viable for getting into and out of the atmosphere and tootling around the atmosphere. AT&T is tootling around our neighborhood. I don't know what that means. Probably nothing good. It generally means nothing good. So, this is what I'm thinking for the Polaris. I'm not hearing a lot from you guys out there to say that this seems like a bad idea. So I'm guessing you guys are pretty okay with the idea. I mean, it's going to be a huge flower. Which I know is going to be kind of strange. But I think you could probably handle that. It's not going to be too weird. And then we've got this long man. Okay, I'm done. No, I'm not done. I'm never done. I can never be done. And then we could have our beloved Polaris kind of coming out like this and going, Pachoo. There we go. Quick sketch, right? So this is my thought on what I'm thinking we're going to do for my Polaris. That's not a bad idea, I don't think. I think we're doing good there. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have seen, and probably not. Go back to the guy, the artist. Go to Bellatrix. On one day, in a fit of the hell is my problem, I did the entire city of Chersoline, which is the city on the top of Pelorus. So this is my original thought process, was how the Pelorus is going to go. But I have since decided to change my mind on this one. So this is Chersoline. And I don't want to ruin this ship, so I'm wondering if I can just keep the ovoid center concept here. I wonder what would happen if I just extended it out and made it circular, and instead of cutting into the bottom here and cutting into the top, I had extra stuff on the outside. So let's talk a little bit about cutting up the Chersoline. First things first, let's save this as something completely different so that we don't ruin it. Second things second, let's get rid of that. And the landing pad, unfortunately, is on the wrong side now. So yeah, I could. I mean, it's, or this internal section is, I mean, not civilians, but civilians. Right? I mean, this isn't the, oh man, don't chew up the city. You're not Godzilla. Gojira! Anybody know the story about Gojira? Because, of course, the person who invented Godzilla is no longer with us, sadly. He has since passed away. But I'll go through the center here, core. But there is theory that Gojira is similar. It's similar in sound to Kojira, which is whale. Who knows? Maybe it is whale. Okay, so let's talk about Chersoline being moved over. Move this over, because actually I need room on either side for this to go circular. And I'm not so worried about you anymore. We just want to save the city because that took way too long for me to draw. And it would be ridiculous for me to continue to draw it. Well, at least he waited until the show was over. Okay. Well, guys, I actually am going to go ahead and head out and talk to you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Hey, TGIF, guys. So I'll see you all tomorrow. And I'm glad he called, because otherwise I'd have just kept drawing, and then it'd be like 3 PM, and I'd be like, that sucks. So tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about Chersoline and the Pelorus, and try to get that stabilized so we can also work on that 3D model. We have a lot of 3D models in this. But I think that really the Pelorus, the Chersoline City, those are important. So we'll come up with identifying spots in the city that are critical, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.